Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Split, the young adult book review podcast for readers and writers. I'm Brian Cohen, the author of the Ted Saves the World series. That is Robert Scanlon, author of The Dreamer Chronicles. And today we have a fun one to talk about. But first, nice red shirt. You can't see this on the audio, but we change our shirts between the two episodes that we film every 2 weeks to give
thank you.
some impression of professionalism, even though I have a brand on my shirt.
Yeah, and you're nice and
they don't come to get us.
You're rugged up as well, so here I am wearing my T-shirt. It's going to be interesting in the middle of the year when you're back to your summer and I'm in my winter.
Yeah, but your winter is still T-shirts.
I'll still be a T-shirt, exactly.
Yeah, so nothing will change on your end. Everything will change for me.
But thank you. Yes, well, maybe we should get Audible T-shirts. So we could.
That's a good idea.
You can hear Robert's T-shirt this week. It's really quite tinkly.
That's a great idea. That's really good. Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. We're always thinking here at The Split. This week, we're going to talk about Artemis Fowl by Owen Colfer. This is a short, sweet book. It's definitely middle grade, maybe even a little more than YA, but it's still, there's a lot to enjoy about it. So I'm going to get right into it. We've got the summary, reader perspective, writer perspective, famous takeaways, and our prompt of the week. Shall we go for it?
Oh, I think we really must.
We really must. Artemis Fowl is a brilliant criminal mastermind, and he's just turned 12. When he learns of a magical realm full of real live fairies that also happens to be rich, he puts his brain to his most dastardly scheme of all. When he succeeds at capturing a fairy, his effort to ransom her off may put him and the entire world at more risk than he ever bargained for. So, this was a blast to read. If you're willing to suspend your disbelief about a 12-year-old mastermind, you know that there's definitely similarities to Lockwood and Co. with this one.
Oh yeah.
If you can suspend your disbelief there, you're in for a rollicking good time, as I put it here. I love the world of the fairies that this book set up, and I'm sure it's explored even further in later books in the series. This was like a sweet treat. It stayed with me for a little bit, and then not much of it stuck with me afterwards. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it a great deal. It was a ton of fun. What did you think?
Yeah, it's well put. It's like a bowl of ice cream, isn't it? You know, it's just fantastic. You can't wait to eat it while you're having it. A little bit after, you know, you're thinking, oh, that was really good. I could have some more. And then 15 minutes later, it's forgotten. And I think that's maybe doing Colfer a little bit of a disservice because
it is.
You wouldn't forget it. And you didn't say that, I did. But yeah, it's a character-filled book, isn't it? It's almost cartoon style, and it's a real shame that clearly this book came out when, you know, the Harry Potter sort of whole furor about Harry Potter was really building in intensity. So it got, I think, unfairly compared to Harry Potter, which it's not kind of the same. Yes, there's a young male protagonist, but they're quite
it's a very different story. It's a very different story that it's telling.
It reminds me more, and you know, older readers will know this, of Douglas Adams or Terry Pratchett, because there's humor in there. There's humor in the fantasy elements. So, and like you say, it's a quick read, it's a fun read, it's pacey, and you know, my daughter is always a good, you know, litmus test for these things, and you know, she just blazed through the entire series when she was probably 9, I think, actually. So even though there's some fairly serious gore and violence in parts of this book, there's certainly nothing, you know, sexual or romantic or anything like that. It's just it's a straight romp.
How many books are there in the series?
There are at least 6.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I saw 6, but my daughter says there are more. So, and she would be the authority.
Yes, definitely.
And
I feel like we need to have her on one time.
We should do that. That'd be a hoot.
That would be it.
She would, especially if it's a book that she's read a lot of these, of course, except for the ones that are too young adult. You're dead right as well. This is obviously for the younger reader, but there's a lot to love from an adult's perspective. And so if you like YA and you don't read YA necessarily for the kind of urban romance stuff, but you read it because it's kind of fun to read books about kids who do great things, then you'll love this for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very, I don't know, there's something about it, the compelling nature of all the different characters. My daughter especially doesn't like Artemis as much as she likes Holly. And you can kind of understand that, Captain Holly, the fairy captain, police captain, whatever she is.
Yeah, she's great.
She's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm out of reader perspectives. You got any other things you want to share?
No, you just got to read it. I think it's a quick read. It's a smart read. It'll give you. What it did for me is it gave me lots of enthusiasm about writing, because I just think, well done. Really well done. It's
writing should be fun, and this was obviously fun for Owen Colfer to write. For sure.
Which is a lovely segue into our writer's perspective.
The writer's perspective. We've talked about this time and time again, that a book needs to transport you somewhere if it's going to be a big hit. And this book actually transported us deep beneath the earth and told us about a new race living beneath our feet. That definitely qualifies as transporting. It definitely qualifies as immersive. So I thought that was really key for this book, being because it was successful. Obviously not Harry Potter successful, but it was a very successful book. And the other thing was several characters I really enjoyed in this. I really enjoyed the Captain Holt, I think it was, the gruff captain who was the leader of Holly, and the butler named Butler. Man, they were fun. They were just they didn't need much. Like, they didn't need much to show their full character, and they weren't necessarily complex individuals. But that I think made it fun, because they weren't caricatures either. They were fun between two and a half dimensional characters that were just, whenever they came up, whenever their perspectives came up, I was very entertained. And I was the same. Like, I thought Artemis was a little jerk, but you don't need your main character to be a good guy. Sometimes you just need them to be the one that kick off the story, and then it's really everyone else that kind of entertains you around this bull in a china shop that is Artemis Fowl. But yeah, I think there's a lot to learn from the characterization of those two characters in particular, because you want your non-main characters to be fully realized and quickly. And I think that's something that they do really well with Butler and Holt in this book.
Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of got a lot of James Bond elements, isn't it? You've got the butler, who's this kind of almost a James Bond character, but then on the other side of the fence, you've got is it a centaur that's the kind of mimics Q with all the gadgets and I just kept wondering, how does he do all that with his hoofs? I don't quite know. Yeah. Clever. Is it clever centaur? And the repartee, the dialogue is very witty. I like the fact that you think it's about Artemis Fowl, and so you think that that's the protagonist, and he is. But then you slip into the fairy world, and all of a sudden you've got other people that you're rooting for. And you think, hang on a minute, this is meant to be the antagonist. So do I like them, and you end up liking them all? Including the burrowing dwarf. The burrowing, farting dwarf. I mean, my gosh.
He was funny too.
I was laughing out loud in parts of this book. I really was. It's it's a great read. Very satisfying. And there's a lot to take away, I think, from a writer's perspective. Because like you say, there's lots of characters, but they're not caricatures. But to me, they were kind of cartoon style in the best sense of the word, and some of the dialogue between Commander Root? Commander, I don't know. I can't even remember now. The main commander, anyway, who kind of seems to get the butt of everybody's stick. But some of the dialogue between him and the Centaur, between him and some of the other commanders, and then the negotiation that goes on between him and Artemis, it's just wonderful. It really is.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And what is skillful about this is, as you say, this is a small book. And so you have to, as a writer, read this from the perspective of what did he leave out? What is it that maybe I would have put in as a more novice writer that might have clouded it? And this is nicely sparse, but you never feel like you're missing description. And you never feel like you, as you say, maybe 2.5D, not quite 3D characters, and it's not a deep and meaningful story. It's it's an action romp. But and Artemis is cruel. He's just cruel.
He's a jerk. Yeah, but he's got his mom, and so there's a little sympathy there.
And he's got his save the cat moments. Man, his father was torpedoed by the magical world or something, and he's got to get his gold back, and so exactly.
I would love it if you started with a writer takeaway.
Yeah, of course. You would have thought that Harry Potter had put the lid on the development of fantasy genres and tropes where the humans can't see the fantasy elements, etc., etc. But I think Colfer proves that you can do it and keep doing it, and not step on J.K. Rowling's toes or look like you're trying to make a spin-off, because it's certainly not that. It's a similar premise in the sense that you've got the two worlds, but the way it's executed, totally different, completely different.
Yeah.
So my takeaway is, there can never be enough entertaining books about kids and fantasy lands. So keep bringing them on.
Yeah, and to follow up on your point, I mean, it's a believable fantasy world because, they live underneath, and I understand why you can't see them because they have the invisible shields. And so it totally makes sense from, a young reader would have no problem saying, oh, yeah, I believe all that. That's cool. Let's keep going.
Yes.
So I think that's really great. Good point on that. My takeaway is kind of going off of what you said. There's no need to make a plot overly complicated. You can keep things simple and short and sweet, and younger and older readers alike will appreciate that. You take things out that are going to cloud things up, just like you said, and you'll end up with a better book as a result.
Yes, indeed, which also segues into my next point. And we don't rehearse this, Bryan.
No, we don't. You should be able to tell at this point. You should be able to tell.
Because, last week we reviewed the Throne of Glass, which, although we both loved it, one of the things I said was that I felt it was trying to be too many different stories and didn't know where it fit, whether it was fantasy or thriller or Hunger Games or a romance or, whatever. And this is almost the opposite. This is not a story that's trying to be anything other than a kind of James Bond thriller set in kids' fantasyland. And it doesn't attempt to be anything else. But just because it's not attempting to do that doesn't mean that it's not well crafted. And so, kudos to writing such a good book with so few words.
Oh, for sure. I'll say fewer words and jump right into the prompt, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course.
If you could be a childhood prodigy in any area of life, what would you choose and why? How would your life differ from the life you've had up to this point?
Whoa. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I was a childhood prodigy in burger flipping. Yeah.
I know a guy who I went to college with who became a world champion coffee barista.
Wow.
And competed in making the beautiful, delicious tasting lattes with like the patterns on the top and everything. And, never would have seen that coming. We did plays in the same department. I mean, so becoming a childhood prodigy, there's lots of different ways you could go. And we would love to hear your answer to this prompt on the splitbookreviews.com. On the YouTube channel. You could also subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube and leave us a iTunes review. These are all the things you can do, but we would really love to see one of you guys take on this prompt and go to town with it, because it is so fun to see how lots of different people can take a single prompt and take it in many different directions.
Look, and you're listening to this or you're watching this, you might well be the next Owen Colfer, so just go for it.
I completely agree. Go for it. Great words of wisdom, Robert.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, another great episode. I always feel weird saying, "Oh yeah, this episode I was just in was great." Pat myself on the back right here. Wonderful job, Bryan and Robert.
Yes.
No, but really, this is always so fun, and we're learning a lot from reading these books, and I hope you guys are picking a lot of stuff up from what we're putting out there. So, for Robert Scanlon, the author of The Dreamer Chronicles, I'm Brian Cohen, the author of Ted Saves the World. Thank you so much for checking us out. Please subscribe to us on iTunes and leave a review. It will help us to rank better so that more people can find us and that we can finally retire on that island.
Exactly. And keep telling everybody how great our episodes are.
Yeah, just spread the word. Spread the word.
No, I mean, we keep telling each other how great our episodes are.
Yeah, this is a good point.
Oh, we're fantastic.
Point.
Basically.
We're so great. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening or watching. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next week with another new episode.
No.
Thank you guys for watching. Somewhere on this page is a subscribe button to the Split channel. We do reviews every week. We would love it if you followed us every single week. Isn't that right, Robert?
That's exactly right. Follow us now. Hit the subscribe button.